or is there anyone that would like to address the Board of Selectmen at this time? For the record.
Tom Harris, Main Street South. First of all, I want to give you a copy of an FOI that I handed into the clerk yesterday that I didn't drop at your office. And then I have a letter that I'd like to read into the records and minutes of tonight's meeting. Everything I want to talk about is concerning the zoning commission meeting of Tuesday night. Dear Selectmen, Tuesday's zoning commission meeting has been far the worst example of behavior of a local elected official I've ever witnessed. Martin Overton was a disgrace to his office and his community. Martin Overton quoted the charter while at the same time distorting it and used an armed officer to make Sean Murphy lead the meeting. Subsequent legal opinion showed that Sean was right in insisting he is still an alternate commissioner. Sean is an elected official, and it was his place in the rotation to be seated this past Tuesday. Martin, through his actions and intimidation, altered and influenced the course of the meeting, and he was dead wrong. This was further compounded with alternate Quint leaving the meeting because he didn't want to tolerate the bullying. I feel it's time for you selectmen to take a stand on the legality and or lack of ethics in the running of Tuesday's meeting, and also on Overton's bullying style of chairmanship. Either you condone it or you will take steps to correct it. There's no room for middle ground. 2013 is an election year, and it's fitting that the voters know where their elected officials stand on an issue this important. Martin has made it clear that he has no respect for the voter, so it is up to you to demonstrate the town respects voters. I ask that you take whatever action is necessary to declare all of Tuesday's actions, Tuesday's zoning meeting, null and void, and work to schedule another meeting to address what was on this week's agenda there. Martin has turned into a rogue chairman, and you need to stop it. Jerry, you were there for a good portion of the meeting. That's intolerable behavior. He skewed the outcome of that entire meeting by forcing the alternate who was next in the rotation out of there. And then they went into elections and they handled important issues, and they gave a permit to, or permitted one restaurant to go in, and they also took actions as far with a partial commission, a really trimmed down commission, to send products into COG and also to the Planning Commission. And it was done in a manner that should never be tolerated, and it's a black eye on the face of our town. And I would hope that you selectmen would take a public stance on this, and I ask you to act on this tonight. Hopefully you can add it to the agenda. The timing is right, because if something's going to be done, it's got to be done promptly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the privilege of the floor? Mr. Snyder, for the record, please.
Richard Snyder, 93 Rail Tree Hill Road. You may be mentioning this tonight because it is on the agenda, but I haven't been able to, as I've checked the voices for legal notices, if a date has been set for either of the conflict of interest hearings.
You'll have to just stand by and wait when we get to the agenda, and I'll answer that question for you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak before we move forward?
Chairman, my name is John Chamberlain. I live at 547 Flanders Road, Woodbury, and I am an alternate on the panel of alternates for the Zoning Commission. I attended Thursday's meeting and I was seated. Chairman, it appears that Mr. Roberts has issued an opinion which has not been shared publicly and not privately with myself either. My only knowledge of it is through a comment on the patch. It appears to confirm Mr. Overton's opinion that the effective date of anyone's resignation is the date they sign the letter, and the trigger is the delivery of the letter to the town clerk, rather than its acceptance by the Board of Selectmen. I think, looking at the minutes of your last meeting, it was assumed that a resignation was not valid until it had been accepted by the first selectman, and it was noted that Mr. Murphy had, quotes, recanted, unquotes, his letter of resignation, and that was the motivating factor in the Board of Selectmen, quotes, not accepting, unquotes, or passing over the purport supported resignation of Mr. Murphy. I think if that's correct, that is that the Board of Selectmen truly believed that a resignation was only effective when it was accepted by the Board of Selectmen. That reflects the feeling of many of us in town. I think most of us did not know that a resignation was effective when it was deposited with the town clerk. It's not clear to me that Mr. Murphy was aware of that as well. And I think it's very important that you, who had a conversation with Mr. Murphy on the 13th of December, tell us what actually happened, and to explain to us why on Tuesday night, when you knew that the letter had not been validly delivered to the town clerk, and Mr. Overton did not, why you didn't mention this fact. Was it because you did not think it was relevant, because you thought that Mr. Murphy had recanted and everything was fine? Or was it in error, or what? Because it would appear that Mr. Murphy did walk out of a meeting saying he was going to resign. If he did not resign, we should know whether he did that on purpose or by mistake, because one way, it looks as if he's an idiot because he doesn't know the rules, and the other way, it weakens our trust in him because he makes empty threats. And I think you owe it to him to make it clear that he acted in good faith and that everybody else was as misunderstanding as he was. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak on the privilege of the floor? Tom, again?
Yes, Tom Harris again. Just to clarify it, I would think especially people in elected position and people who pay attention to the charter, section 311, which Martin did read the bulk of. I think he left out a few of the words at the meeting the other night, but it's the subject of 311 is resignation. It says any resignation shall be in writing and filed with the town clerk. The town clerk shall send copies of the letter of resignation to the chair of the appropriate board or commission and the first selectman, then in parentheses, or in the case of resignation of the first selectman or of a chair of a board or a commission, to the remaining members of the relevant board or commission, close parentheses. Any such resignation shall take effect on the date stated in the letter of the resignation, or if no date is specified upon filing. And it does say that it shall be filed with the town clerk. And that's, I spoke with Linda on it, and that was her understanding of it. I don't know how many resignations we have that are handled this way or not. I am of the understanding it's up to the individual resigning to make sure that it is filed appropriately. And it's clear, it's been in our charter for a good number of years, and I think that part of it's fairly clear, and that's why I couldn't understand exactly what was going on the other night. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak on the privilege of the floor? If not, I'd like to move on to the minutes of the regular meeting of December 13th,